Good morning, good people. Let me ask you something. How many of y'all have ever been hit with a problem so big, so frustrating, that you just wanted to throw your hands up and say, I quit? You know that kind of struggle where you're looking up at the sky like, really? This what we doing today? Oh, I know I ain't the only one. See, life got a funny way of testing you. It don't come knocking like a polite neighbor. No, sir, life will bust through your front door, eat all your food, run up your bills, and then have the nerve to leave the lights on. And when that happens, you got two choices. You can sit there and cry about it, or you can turn that mess into a message. See, every obstacle is just an opportunity in disguise. But here's the catch. You gotta be willing to look past the pain and see the purpose. You ever notice how diamonds are made? They don't start off all shiny and beautiful. No, they start as some ugly old lump of coal, but under pressure, intense heat and pressure, ooh, that thing turns into something priceless. Some of y'all are sitting in pressure right now. Life is squeezing you, crushing you, stretching you, and you're sitting there thinking, why me? But let me tell you something. Pressure ain't meant to break you. It's meant to build you. That struggle you're facing right now, that's the thing that's going to take you to your next level. I don't care what it is. Losing a job, a failed relationship, a business that ain't taking off, money problems, whatever it is, I need you to stop looking at it like it's the end. It ain't the end. It's a setup for something greater. But you got to do your part. You can't just sit there and complain. Ain't nobody handing out success like free samples at the grocery store. You got to take what you got and work it. You lost that job, start that business you've been dreaming about. Relationship fell apart, good. Now you got room for the right person. Your idea failed, so what? That just means you learned one way not to do it. Keep pushing, because listen to me, success ain't for the weak. It's for the ones who take a hit, wipe the dust off, and say, that all you got? So stop being scared of obstacles and start looking at them for what they really are. Opportunities waiting for you to rise up and snatch them. Your breakthrough is on the other side of your struggle, but you got to be willing to fight for it. Now get up, get out, and turn that obstacle into your opportunity. Thank you. Pressure is one of the most uncomfortable forces in life. It forces change, demands growth, and pushes us beyond what we thought we were capable of. But the truth is, without pressure, nothing great is ever created. If you think about the most valuable things on this earth, diamonds, pearls, even the strongest metals, they all have one thing in common. They are formed through pressure, intense heat, and time. The same applies to people. The ones who rise to greatness, who achieve success, who leave a mark on the world are the ones who endure pressure, learn from it, and allow it to shape them into something better. When you look at the process of a diamond forming, it doesn't happen overnight. It starts as a lump of carbon buried deep beneath the earth, exposed to extreme pressure and heat for thousands, even millions of years. Over time, that pressure transforms what was once an ordinary piece of rock into one of the most sought-after, valuable gems in the world. The thing about a diamond is, before it shines, before it sparkles under the light, it has to go through a process. And that process is not easy. It is crushed, pressed, and reshaped over and over until it becomes what it was always meant to be. The same principle applies to life. Every challenge, every struggle, every obstacle that makes you feel like you're being squeezed beyond your limit is part of a refining process. Growth never happens in comfort. Nobody ever becomes successful, strong, or wise by sitting in an easy situation where everything is perfect. It is the pressure, the struggle, and the hardship that make a person truly great. Think about the moments in your life when you felt the most pressure. Maybe it was a time when money was tight and you had to figure out how to survive. Maybe it was a moment when you lost a job, a relationship, or an opportunity you thought would change everything. In those moments, it probably felt like life was against you. like you were being buried under the weight of your circumstances. But here's the thing, diamonds are buried too. They don't start out on the surface where everyone can see them. They start deep underground, hidden in the darkness. But just because they are buried doesn't mean they are gone. It just means they are in the process of becoming something greater. Pressure has a way of exposing what's inside of you. When everything is easy, when life is going smooth, you don't really know how strong you are. But when things get tough, when you put in a position where you have to fight to push through, that's when your true strength is revealed. When some people break under pressure and others use it as fuel. The difference is mindset. You can look at pressure as something that's trying to destroy you, or you can see it as something that's shaping you, making you tougher, making you wiser, making you into the person you're meant to be. The greatest success stories are not built on ease. They are built on struggle, on setbacks, on failure after failure until something finally clicks. Every successful person has been through pressure. Every athlete, every entrepreneur, every artist, every leader, they all have stories of being tested, of going through hardships that made them question whether they should keep going. But the ones who made it, the ones who reached the top, are the ones who refuse to let pressure break them. Instead, they let it push them forward. When you've been through enough struggles, you start to realize that no challenge is permanent. No obstacle is too big. When you face hardship after hardship and keep pushing forward, you develop a strength that nothing can shake. You become like a diamond, unbreakable, valuable, and able to withstand anything that comes your way. Most people want success, but they don't want the process that comes with it. They want the shine of the diamond without the pressure that creates it. But that's not how life works. You can't skip the hard parts and expect to come out strong. You have to go through the fire, through the crushing, through the uncomfortable moments. That's the only way you grow. Pressure also brings out creativity and innovation. When people are pushed into difficult situations, when their backs are against the wall, that's when they start thinking differently. That's when they start finding solutions they never would have considered before. Some of the most successful businesses in the world were created during tough times. Some of the greatest inventions were born out of necessity. When things are easy, people don't feel the need to change or improve. But when pressure comes, when there is no other option but to adapt, that's when breakthroughs happen. If you look at history, some of the greatest leaders, thinkers, and creators went through unimaginable pressure before they achieved success. They lost everything. They failed multiple times. They faced rejection after rejection, but they kept going. They understood that pressure was not the enemy. It was the tool that would shape them into something greater. Even in nature, the strongest trees are the ones that have been through the harshest storms. The deeper the roots, the stronger the tree. And how do those roots get deep? Through pressure, through being pushed down into the soil, through surviving droughts, winds, and storms. People are the same way. The more pressure you endure, the stronger you become. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking that pressure means they are failing. They see challenges as a sign that they're not meant to succeed. But in reality, pressure is proof that you're on the path to something greater. If life was too easy, that would mean you're not growing. That would mean you're staying in the same place. But when you feel that pressure, that means change is happening. That means something inside you is being transformed. Many people quit too soon. They give up right when they're on the edge of a breakthrough. They can't see it yet, but they're right there, just a little more pressure away from becoming something greater. But instead of pushing through, they walk away. They let the pressure break them instead of build them. But the people who succeed, the ones who achieve their dreams, they don't run from pressure. They embrace it. They recognize that it's part of the process. Pressure also forces you to level up. It makes you develop skills, habits, and mindsets that you wouldn't have needed if everything was easy. Think about the moments in your life when you were forced to grow. Maybe you had to learn something new because you lost a job. Maybe you had to step up in a situation where no one else would. Maybe you had to become stronger because life threw something at you that you weren't ready for. But because of that pressure, you became wiser, you became more capable than you ever thought possible. One of the most powerful things about pressure is that it reveals character. When everything is good, when there are no struggles, anyone can seem strong. But when the pressure comes, when things start getting tough, that's when you see who a person really is. Do they crumble? Do they run? Or do they stand tall, face it head on, and come out stronger? Pressure is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that you are in the process of becoming something greater. It is a sign that you are being refined, being shaped, being prepared for something bigger. But you have to be willing to go through it. You have to trust the process, even when it's hard. Life has a way of throwing obstacles in our path just when we think we have everything figured out. These obstacles don't announce themselves politely. They don't ask if we're ready. They just show up, unexpected, unwelcome, and often at the worst possible time. It could be losing a job, a failed relationship, a missed opportunity, or an unexpected financial hardship. Whatever form they take, obstacles have a way of making people doubt themselves, question their abilities, and sometimes even wonder if they should give up altogether. But the truth is, obstacles are not stop signs. They are setups for something greater. The problem is that most people see them the wrong way. They see an obstacle as an indication that they should stop, rather than recognizing it as an opportunity in disguise. Most of the time, when people face a major setback, their first reaction is frustration. They feel like life is against them. They wonder why things can't just go smoothly for once. But the reality is, obstacles serve a purpose. They are there to force growth, to push people to think differently, and to bring out strengths they didn't even know they had. If everything was easy, no one would ever improve. No one would ever develop resilience, creativity, or problem-solving skills. The challenges that come in life are not there to break people. They are there to build them. Think about every great success story, whether it's an entrepreneur, an athlete, an artist, or a leader. Every single one of them has faced obstacles that could have stopped them in their tracks. But instead of giving up, they found a way to turn those roadblocks into stepping stones. That's the difference between people who make it and people who don't. It's not about avoiding obstacles. It's about learning how to use them. One of the biggest myths people believe is that successful individuals have it easy, that they never struggle, never fail, never face setbacks. But the truth is, the people who reach the top are the ones who learn how to turn their failures into lessons, their losses into motivation, and their obstacles into opportunities. They don't let setbacks define them. They use them as fuel to push even harder. Imagine someone who loses their job. For most people, that would be devastating. The natural reaction would be to panic, to feel defeated, to wonder what went wrong. But in reality, losing a job can be one of the greatest opportunities a person ever experiences. It can be the push they need to start their own business, to switch careers, or to pursue a passion they had been putting off for years. What seems like a disaster in the moment can turn into the best thing that ever happened to them, if they are willing to see it that way. The same applies to relationships. When a relationship ends, it's easy to fall into the mindset of thinking that everything is falling apart. But what if that relationship ending is actually making space for something better? What if it's an opportunity to grow, to focus on personal development, to become the best version of oneself before meeting the right person? So many times, what looks like rejection is actually redirection. It's life's way of steering people towards something better. Obstacles force people to think differently. When everything is going according to plan, there's no reason to look for new solutions, to be creative, or to try a different approach. But when an obstacle appears, it forces a new way of thinking. Some of the greatest inventions in history came from people facing a challenge and refusing to accept defeat. They didn't stop when they hit a roadblock. They found a way around it, over it, or through it. That's the mindset that separates those who succeed from those who stay stuck. It's easy to look at an obstacle and focus on everything that's going wrong. It's harder to step back and ask, how can I use this? But that question changes everything. Instead of seeing a challenge as a problem, it shifts the perspective to finding a solution. It takes the power away from the obstacle and puts it back in the hands of the person facing it. No one controls the obstacles that show up in life, but everyone controls how they respond to them. One of the most important things to understand about obstacles is that they often come right before a breakthrough. It's almost as if life is testing people to see if they're really ready for the next level. Most people give up too soon. They hit one roadblock and assume that means they should quit. But what if they're just one step away from success? What if that obstacle is the last challenge before they achieve what they've been working for all along? History is full of people who turn their biggest setbacks into their greatest comebacks. Famous authors who were rejected dozens of times before their books became bestsellers. Entrepreneurs who went bankrupt before building million-dollar companies. Athletes who were cut from teams before going on to become legends. The common factor among all of them is that they didn't let obstacles stop them. They used them as fuel to push forward. There's a reason why some of the most successful people have stories of struggle. It's because those struggles prepared them for success. They learned how to handle setbacks, how to stay persistent, and how to find opportunities in the most unlikely places. They didn't wait for life to hand them success. They created it by refusing to give up when things got tough. It's easy to admire successful people once they've made it, but most people don't see the struggles that came before. They don't see the moments of doubt, the times when everything seemed to be going wrong, the nights spent wondering if it was all worth it. But those moments are part of the process. No one reaches success without them. Obstacles also reveal character. When things are easy, it's simple to stay positive, to keep going, to feel confident. But when challenges come, that's when true character is revealed. Some people crumble and others rise. The ones who rise are the ones who understand that obstacles are not stop signs. They are invitations to grow. They are challenges to be overcome, lessons to be learned, and opportunities to become stronger. The key is to shift the mindset. Instead of seeing an obstacle as a dead end, see it as a detour. Instead of focusing on what went wrong, look for what can be learned. Every challenge carries a lesson. Every setback carries a hidden opportunity. It's just a matter of being willing to look for it. One of the hardest parts of facing obstacles is that they often bring uncertainty. They shake up the comfort zone, force people into unfamiliar territory, and make them question what's next. But uncertainty is not always a bad thing. It's in those moments of uncertainty that some of the biggest opportunities appear. It's when people are forced to adapt, to try new things, to step outside of their usual patterns, that they discover new paths they never would have considered before. Fear is what stops most people from turning obstacles into opportunities. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of stepping into the unknown. But fear is just an illusion. It only has power if it is given power. The people who achieve success are not the ones who never feel fear. They are the ones who feel it and push forward anyway. The greatest opportunities often come disguised as challenges. The key is to stop seeing them as something to be avoided and start seeing them as something to be embraced. The moment that mindset shift happens, everything changes. Obstacles stop being reasons to quit and start becoming reasons to push harder. They stop being sources of frustration and start becoming sources of motivation. The only difference between people who succeed and people who don't is how they choose to respond when obstacles appear. Too many people spend their lives waiting for the perfect moment. They think they need more money, better connections, or the right circumstances before they can take action. They look at successful people and assume they had everything lined up before they started. But that's not how success works. Most of the time, the people who achieve great things didn't start with the best resources. They started with what they had and made the most of it. They didn't wait for conditions to be perfect. They took action, figured things out along the way, and made progress step by step. The truth is, success doesn't come to those who sit around waiting. It comes to those who work what they've got, no matter how little or how imperfect it may seem. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking they need more before they can begin. They believe they need a certain amount of money to start a business, a certain level of experience to apply for a job, or the perfect idea before they take action. But the reality is, no one starts with everything. The most successful people in the world began with limited resources, but they used what they had to the best of their ability. They took small opportunities and turned them into bigger ones. They didn't waste time complaining about what they didn't have. They focused on what they did have and made it work. The most successful entrepreneurs didn't wait for investors to believe in them before they started. They built something with whatever resources were available to them. Some of the biggest businesses in the world started in garages, basements, and small apartments. The most successful athletes didn't start with the best equipment or training facilities. Many of them practiced on dirt fields, used homemade equipment, and trained without a coach. The most successful artists didn't wait for someone to hand them an opportunity. They created their own, using whatever tools they had access to. The common thread between all of them is that they worked what they had instead of waiting for more. People often talk themselves out of taking action because they compare themselves to others who were further ahead. They see someone else's success and assume that person had advantages they didn't have. But what they don't see are the years of hard work, the sacrifices, and the struggles that person went through. Success is not about having the perfect starting point. It's about making progress with what's available and building from there. Everyone has something they can use, no matter how small it seems. The key is to recognize that and put it to work. One of the biggest obstacles people face is the idea that they're not ready. They think they need more experience, more knowledge, or more connections before they can start. But the truth is, no one ever feels completely ready. There will always be gaps in knowledge, skills that need improvement, and things that could be better. But waiting for readiness leads to inaction. The only way to truly be ready is to start. Experience comes from doing, not from waiting. Every expert was once a beginner. Every master started as a student. The only difference between those who succeed and those who don't is that successful people take action despite feeling unprepared. Resources are rarely the deciding factor in success. Mindset and effort matter far more. There are countless stories of people who started with nothing and built incredible lives for themselves. The common factor among them is not wealth, connections, or privilege. It's their willingness to take action, to work with what they had, and to keep going even when things got tough. There are also countless stories of people who had every advantage, money, education, opportunities, but never did anything with it because they were waiting for the perfect moment. The difference isn't resources, it's resourcefulness. The most valuable resource anyone has is their own determination. The willingness to adapt, to learn, and to push forward is more important than any external factor. Someone with a strong mindset and limited resources will always outperform someone with unlimited resources but a weak mindset. That's why two people can start in the same situation and end up in completely different places. One makes excuses and the other makes progress. One waits for perfect conditions and the other takes action with what's available. Every challenge in life is an opportunity to develop resourcefulness. When things don't go as planned, when obstacles appear, when resources are limited, that's when creativity and problem-solving skills come into play. Instead of seeing limitations as barriers, they should be seen as opportunities to think differently, to be innovative, and to develop new skills. Many of the greatest inventions, businesses, and success stories came from people who had to find a way forward despite limited resources. The struggle forced them to become more creative, more determined, and more skilled. If they had been handed everything easily, they never would have developed those qualities. People often think they need to be in the right environment to succeed, but history proves otherwise. Some of the greatest minds, leaders, and innovators came from places that seemed like the least likely to produce success. They grew up in poverty and difficult circumstances, in environments where no one believed in them. But instead of letting that stop them, they worked with what they had. They didn't wait for the perfect opportunity, they created their own. Fear is another factor that holds people back from working with what they have. They're afraid of failing, afraid of looking foolish, afraid that what they have isn't enough. But fear is just an illusion. It's a feeling, not a reality. The only way to overcome fear is to take action despite it. No one ever reached success without facing fear. The difference is that successful people move forward anyway. They use their fear as fuel instead of letting it paralyze them. Perfectionism is another common trap. People want things to be just right before they take action. They want their business plan to be flawless, their skills to be fully developed, and their confidence to be at its peak before they begin. But perfection is an illusion. There will never be a perfect time, a perfect plan, or a perfect moment to start. The only way to get better is to start where you are and improve along the way. Waiting for perfection leads to nothing but wasted time and missed opportunities. The truth is, no one ever reaches success in one giant leap. It happens step by step, decision by decision, effort by effort. Every big accomplishment starts with a small action. The most successful people didn't start with everything figured out. They took what they had, made the most of it, and built from there. They learned through experience, adapted to challenges, and kept moving forward even when things weren't perfect. The people who never start because they're waiting for the perfect conditions never get anywhere. Opportunities don't always come in obvious packages. Sometimes they come disguised as problems, challenges, or even failures. But those who have the right mindset can see the opportunity hidden within. They understand that setbacks are often setups for something greater. They know that even in difficult situations, there is something that can be used to move forward. Instead of complaining about what they lack, they focus on what they can do with what they have. Nothing great is ever built in comfort. Growth happens when people are stretched, challenged, and pushed beyond their limits. The discomfort of not having everything perfect forces creativity, determination, and problem solving. It builds resilience, which is one of the most important traits for long-term success. Every struggle is an opportunity to develop strength. Every limitation is a chance to become more resourceful. Every obstacle is a test of persistence. The biggest mistake people make is underestimating what they already have. They focus on what's missing instead of seeing the tools, skills, and opportunities that are already within their reach. They wait for more money instead of using what they have wisely. They wait for more knowledge instead of learning as they go. They wait for someone to give them an opportunity instead of creating one. Success doesn't come from waiting. It comes from working with what's available and making the most of it. Most of the time, the difference between success and failure isn't talent, intelligence, or luck. It's the ability to take action with what's available instead of waiting for better conditions. The people who succeed are not always the most talented, the most educated, or the most privileged. They are simply the ones who refuse to wait. They take what they have and make it work. They don't focus on what they lack. They focus on what they can do right now with what's in front of them.